Kuzuzampu, welcome to Bhutan This Week, our weekly news magazine program with me, Sunam Pem. Our top stories this week. Health Minister says herd immunity looking highly achievable. As the international community hails Bhutan's vaccination drive, health experts say it is not yet time to let guards down. And the 4 people involved in the criminal conspiracy case sentenced to 5 to 12.5 years in prison. Almost 60% of the total population has been vaccinated so far. Looking at this, the health minister says the target of vaccinating at least 80% of the country's population to achieve herd immunity is looking highly achievable. She added the plan now is to inoculate children below 18 years of age, which comprises of 30% of the total population.
Around 450,000 people have been vaccinated so far since the second nationwide vaccination campaign began last week. Inoculation of children between 12 to 17 years in high-risk areas began on 22nd July. The home-based vaccination for people with mobility issues also started on Saturday.
As of now, as you know, I think almost 99% of our eligible population have, as of today, received its first doses. And then as of today, around 86% of our population, eligible population, has received its second dose. Now, if we look at the overall coverage as a total population, proportion of the total population, then we have actually vaccinated around 59% of our total population as of today.
The health minister says vaccinating children between 12 to 17 years will help the country achieve its target of obtaining herd immunity. She added the ministry will also discuss the recent approval of the Moderna vaccine for children between 12 and 17 years.
I know EU has issued authorization, emergency authorization use, but yet again we have our own internal country authorities. The DRA will also have to issue clearance, and we are yet to see the clearance from DRA at this point.
The ministry plans to submit its propositions to the National COVID-19 Task Force regarding relaxation of restrictions only after the targeted coverage is achieved. Kinzang Hadin, PBS News.
Around 50,000 children aged between 12 and 17 will receive their first dose of the Moderna vaccine in the next 1 week. The vaccination started yesterday in 9 districts. The Moderna is the second vaccine after Pfizer approved for use in children in this age group.
The vaccination started in high-risk districts of Samjongkar, Pemagasal, Shemgang, Sarbang, Dagana, Chukha, Samsi, Thimphu and Paro today.
We, the students and the citizens of Bhutan, are very grateful to receive the vaccine. And lastly, I'd like to thank His Majesty and the government.
Firstly, on behalf of all the students of Samjongkar Middle Secondary School, would like to thank the government and the King for the opportunity we're receiving today as we are getting the vaccination today. I'm very happy for it and grateful.
Bhutan received 500,000 doses of the Moderna vaccine through the COVAX facility. But almost 90% of the vaccine was used during the second nationwide vaccination drive. And more than 50,000 doses of the Moderna vaccine remain from the recent week-long campaign.
This vaccination will not be enough for entire country, 12 to 17 years children. So for the rest of the district children, we will be vaccinating soon. Of course, we need to get new vaccine, which government is trying to get either from Pfizer or Moderna. Just now we cannot to give a definite timeline, but we are expecting maybe around September to October.
There are over 85,000 children in this age group in the country. The Drug Regulatory Authority authorized the emergency use of the Moderna vaccine for children on Monday. The European Medicine Agency had approved to roll out the Moderna vaccine for children in this age group. Choni Dama for BBS News.
The world is talking about Bhutan yet again. This time it is about the country's success in vaccinating almost the entire population eligible for the COVID-19 vaccines. According to the Health Ministry, 90% of the country's eligible population were inoculated during the week-long second vaccination campaign recently.
From CNN to The Guardian to UNICEF and media in the neighboring countries, Bhutan's vaccination campaign made headlines. In the press release, the UNICEF Bhutan representative, Dr. Will Parks, said the feat is a testimony of Bhutan's swift response to the pandemic. The release also commends the collective efforts of the government, local leaders, frontline workers, citizen volunteers, and development partners for making this exemplary to the world. Speaking to the ABC Radio National yesterday, the Prime Minister, Dr. Lote Tshering, said His Majesty's guidance, the unity exhibited by the people, the government's leadership, and the frontline workers' dedication made all the second vaccination drive a success. In just 7 days, some 454,000 individuals in the country were vaccinated. Almost 5,000 health workers and more than 2,000 Desung volunteers were involved during the program. Moreover, a vaccination drive for the country's unreached population is also underway. The campaign is covering people in the rural areas who could not visit the vaccination sites earlier. Similarly, children between 12 and 17 years in the high-risk areas are also getting inoculated. But despite getting vaccinated or achieving herd immunity, health experts warn that it is not yet time to let the guard down. In an earlier interview, Dr. Sonomongchuk from the National Immunization Technical Advisory Group said that one is not fully immune to the virus even after the second dose.
Even after we get the second jab, we should still continue wearing, following this the safety protocol, like wearing masks, then keeping social distancing, and then hand washing. That is important because still there is infection going on in the southern districts, and of course we have a good protocol for traveling people from high to low risk. But again, there may be some leakage, we don't know. So that's why we would like to request people to follow all those protocols.
Moreover, with the European and Southeast Asian countries already battling the third wave of the pandemic, it is too soon for Bhutan to celebrate victory over the coronavirus. However, it is never too early to stay prepared, follow health protocols, and be more committed than ever. Kinzang Haden, BBS News.
Vinsoling has been under lockdown for almost 4 months. The town continues to see positive cases of COVID-19 from the community, even to date despite restrictions. Vinsoling reported nearly 200 positive cases of COVID-19 since April. Unable to bear the prolonged lockdown, some residents started to relocate to other districts.
Among the thousands who left the town is Kilewangmu, who closed her shop and moved to Thimphu temporarily with her family around 2 months ago.
I come in close contact with a lot of people in the shop, and that was risky as I have a child with a disability and grandmother in the house. Moreover, the business was not going well as the shop had to remain closed most of the time because of lockdown.
A lot of people visit the shop and it was getting riskier for us elderly people and the children. Moreover, it was suffocating. We couldn't come out of the house and had to stay inside, and the heat was unbearable.
Like Kile, her brother Kunga too closed his business in Vinsoling for the time being and moved to Thimphu with his family. They are from Thimphu.
As adults, we could somehow put up with the restrictions, but it was challenging for the children. They didn't want to stay indoors after spending almost 2 months in lockdown. I used to work in the tourism sector. But after the pandemic, I started a business in the town, but now even that is closed because of the lockdown. But I have to continue to pay the rent.
And Thimphu gives them some respite. Besides the unbearable lockdown and the fear of catching the virus, concern over children's education is also what forced them to move out.
Children aren't attentive while learning online, and with limited knowledge, it was difficult for us to guide them properly. Our children have been learning online the entire academic session last year, so we moved to Thimphu thinking it is going to affect their education badly if the situation doesn't improve this year as well.
My daughter is studying in class 2 in Vinsoling Middle Secondary School. It was difficult for her to learn online, so I came to drop my daughter here in Thimphu. Right now it is midterm break and we haven't been to schools to seek admission. So I'm worried if my daughter will get admission in schools here in the capital. Around 400 people were coming towards Thimphu on the day I came.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, U, U, P, W, X, Y, and Z. Now, A, B, C, S, I want to see me. 피치는 거. 내가 사람지. 엄지.
Machi chimna debde kongi halam chike me ani kol jinna sila katame school na bochi kongi atsike ni kol ngachi jinna isitam
school na charu jaksi bate mo chimna de gai mi ode ani bina chimna boring thamna.
Between April and July, about 3,000 people moved out of Vinsoling, and around 600 are currently in quarantine in the town. With the Southern COVID-19 Task Force rolling out the second round of COVID-19 vaccination from Wednesday, the residents are hopeful of returning to the town soon.
If the situation gets better, we want to go back before the winter is here. But if things do not improve, we cannot go back. The town continues to report cases from the community.
Since we run a business in Vinsoling, which is our only source of income, we cannot give up on that. With the second dose of the COVID vaccine rolling out, we are hoping things will get better soon. So I am planning to leave the children here with my parents and go back soon.
Until the situation improves, more residents might relocate to other districts. Pupkem for VBS News.
The Royal Civil Service Commission has rescheduled the Bhutan Civil Service Examination 2021. And so the preliminary examination, previously planned on 15th August, will now be conducted on 5th September. According to the Commission, this is considering the mandatory quarantine period graduates will have to go while traveling from a high-risk area or entering the country from abroad. In view of the current pandemic situation, the Commission also added Mongar as an additional venue for the preliminary exam besides Thimphu. The main exam will begin from 29th October. Going by the Education Ministry's recent Education in Emergency report, most students found online learning challenging. Moreover, it could not replace face-to-face teaching with limited resources, thereby affecting the quality of education. As schools remained closed amid the COVID-19 pandemic, the ministry initiated teaching online using social media, self-instructional materials, and video and radio lessons. As per the report, learning online was challenging for both students and teachers because of lack of good internet connectivity. At the same time, it was expensive as many students had to buy phones or tablets and recharge mobile data. Jemgang reported the highest number of students having difficulty learning online. Their main issue was weak mobile network coverage in the district. Besides, the students highlighted issue with mobile phones not supporting the Google Classroom application. The report recommended improving internet connectivity and making it affordable for effective and efficient online learning. The report also revealed that the lessons delivered did not cover all the subjects and were not comprehensive. Moreover, lessons developed for general students did not help students with disabilities. And so, schools with special education needs programs had to improvise their teaching learning materials. Lack of ICT knowledge and skills of both teachers and students was another challenge for effective online teaching and learning. Parents across the nation reported that their children were distracted mainly by online games, videos, and social media. On the other hand, more than 80% of the students said that their interest in studies was affected due to school closure. Meanwhile, as per the report's findings, despite being challenging, online lessons opened opportunities for increased interactions between parents and children, thus enhancing bond and trust. Sunampem for BBS News. The Thimphu District Court sentenced 4 individuals involved in the criminal conspiracy case to a prison term ranging from 5 years to 12.5 years. They were convicted of commissioning of criminal conspiracy, mutiny, abetting mutiny, and other criminal offences.
Khandu Ongmo was sentenced to 21 years in prison but was handed down a concurrent sentence of 9 years. She was convicted of abetting mutiny, criminal misappropriation of property, larceny by deception, illegal possession of firearms, and impersonation of uniformed personnel. She also received an additional prison term of 18 months for solicitation of official misconduct and harassment. But she can pay in lieu of the 18 months prison term. She was arrested in July last year. The court dismissed 2 counts of charge under the solicitation of official misconduct and obstruction of lawful authorities against her, which include an impending arrest warrant by hiding former Changgap Kanjur. Former RBG Commandant Brigadier Chile Tobge was handed down 18 years prison term. But he received concurrent sentences of 10 years for mutiny, criminal misappropriation of property, and aiding and abetting to the illegal possession of a firearm and impersonation of uniformed personnel. He was also convicted for official misconduct and harassment and sentenced to additional 2.5 years in prison. However, he can also pay in lieu of the 2.5 years prison term. He was arrested in November last year. The district court sentenced Supreme Court Justice Kunithring to 5 years in prison for abetting mutiny. However, the court dismissed the charges of abuse of functions and obstruction of lawful authorities. Pemagasal Trongpen Yishidoji was convicted for abetting mutiny and larceny by deception. He was sentenced to 8 years in prison, but he received a concurrent sentence of 5 years. They were arrested in February this year. Khandu Ongmo colluded with the Supreme Court Justice and the Pemagasal Trongpen to help the former RBG commandant in the mutiny to overthrow the Army's Chief Operations Officer, Lieutenant General Patutring. Tringzam, BBS News.
With many people losing jobs and facing career insecurity due to the COVID-19 pandemic, a group of youth in Pemagasal has found comfort in farming. But earning a livelihood from growing vegetables is not easy, as we find out in this story.
The Najun Sanam Dechen was started in February by 3 young men. The group grows chilies and tomatoes on around 2 acres of land they have acquired on lease. 2 of the members had lost their jobs due to the pandemic, while the 3rd member had just entered the job market after completing his studies.
When I returned to my village, I was all alone and I had a difficult time finding laborers. I thought if I had friends, we could grow more vegetables and produce more. So I went around looking for friends to work with. Later I found 2 friends who don't have a job like me, and we decided to form a group and started our work.
Dato tingachi Amazon gana isunila. Sabbindi assi dato temti bisunila.
The Gyeok Agriculture Office supported the group with seeds and other equipment to encourage youth into farming.
Till now, from Gyeok, from our Gyeok, Nanung Gyeok, and from Zongo Agriculture sector, we have supported them through supply of various vegetable seeds and irrigation facilities like supply of drip seeds, then supply of syntax and plastic mulching and distribution of cost-sharing greenhouse.
Since their farms are far away from the village, they often face water shortages in winter. The group says they also face difficulties from wild animals. They are hoping to get help from the Gyeok office.
In case of fencing, we cannot provide them at free of cost. But we plan to give them on a cost-sharing basis. It will be in this financial year, and we have even allocated the budget. It is difficult to work without water. We also have a plan to help them with irrigation water.
Despite the challenges, the group is determined to carry on, maybe even grow a few more vegetables and expand their farm in future. For Chileduji in Pemagatsal, Sringzam, BBS News.
It has been a long time coming for Delinquents, the champions of the BOB A-League Basketball 2021. Some 3 years ago, they got promoted from the B-League, reached the semi-finals in their first appearance at the top league, and dominated the entire A-League 2021 season. In this story, our reporter Sring Dendup talks to the team and finds what drove them to clinch their first major title.
It all began in 2007. A group of childhood friends came together to form a basketball team. They named it Delinquents. Since then, there was no looking back. After years of being and playing together, they won the B-League basketball tournament in 2018, qualifying for the A-League. The following year, Delinquents started their maiden A-League season with a bang. They reached the semi-finals. But the journey was cut short by the more experienced Jachungs. Taking the defeat as a stepping stone, the team persevered and was determined to make a stronger comeback. And so they did. In the 2021 edition, Delinquents lost only 2 of the 28 games. And in the finals, they defeated Jachungs by 2 straight games.
They put in a lot of work to get where we are today, and they're very deserving of this trophy. They've been together for a long time, they've been friends for a lifelong time, so I'm very happy and proud of them.
Besides being a redemption game, for Delinquents, the finals against Jachungs this time were also about correcting their past mistakes.
Jachungs is a very fast team. They have a lot of talent, a lot of fast players, and so that's probably our biggest challenge, is to try to slow them down and not to play their game so much. I think that was the biggest challenge for us, and try to get them to slow down the transition offense, and I think we were able to achieve that for the most part, and also try to maintain our own emotional composure and try to maintain our mental game.
Delinquents achieved what they aspired for. They are the champions of the BOB Basketball A-League. So what's next? According to the team, as much as they want to think about defending the title, for now, they want to savor the win, something they feel they truly deserved.
This is a long tournament. It was almost 60 days, 50-something days. I think right now we just want to celebrate and just have a good time and enjoy each other's company. I think we haven't really thought that far yet, but
This is Sringdandup, BBS News.
That's all for this week. Thank you for joining us.